People haven't caught it yet. Just hours ago, a stimulus update quietly shifted direction. The relief plan you thought you understood has been revised, adjusted behind closed doors. And now the biggest question is this: who actually gets paid and who doesn't? If you're feeling confused, frustrated, or even a little anxious about money right now, you're not alone. Prices are still high, bills keep coming, and for millions of Americans, every update like this matters more than ever. Now, this is not hype. This is not a rumor pulled from social media. This is a real shift that could affect your bank account, your benefits, or someone in your family. But here's the truth, and this is important. Some people are positioned to benefit sooner than expected. Others may assume they qualify and find out too late that they don't. And that's why you need to hear this all the way through, because once you understand why this relief plan was revised, everything starts to make sense. Why officials changed the rules, why the timeline matters, and why what happens next may surprise you. So stay with me. In the next moment, I'm going to break down what triggered this update, why it's happening right now, and how it could directly affect you without the confusion, without the jargon, and without the panic. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening because this update didn't come out of nowhere. Over the past few weeks, pressure has been building quietly in Washington. The real story isn't found in media coverage, it's buried in the data. Inflation statistics, household spending analysis, rental cost trajectories, food price tracking, utility payment records. Based on internal financial assessments made public in recent days, typical household expenditures continue to sit 12 to 18% above levels from just 2 years prior. For individuals relying on unchanging income streams, this difference is devastating. This is the problem the restructured assistance plan attempts to address. Initially, the assistance framework developed in early November centered on comprehensive stimulus methodology, expansive qualification standards, rapid fund deployment, straightforward requirements. In theory, it appeared substantial. But practically speaking, administrators encountered obstacles. To begin with, budget constraints. The Congressional Budget Office identified that the initial structure would surpass designated assistance funding by approximately $38 billion across the upcoming fiscal period. Additionally, operational concerns. Treasury administrators caution that implementing universal payments might disrupt current assistance infrastructure, including Social Security operations and tax benefit processing. And finally, something significant: legislative resistance. Numerous representatives across party lines openly recognize that earlier stimulus initiatives, though beneficial, cast too wide a net, delivering funds to families without immediate necessity, while others continued struggling with basic expenses. Consequently, the plan was suspended, reassessed, and discreetly restructured. Here's the critical modification you must grasp. This is no longer universal assistance. The restructured plan pivots toward focused payments engineered to reach particular populations more rapidly rather than distributing resources broadly across all households. Now, before becoming overly optimistic or concerned, let me clarify. This doesn't automatically mean more people are eliminated. It means qualification standards carry greater weight than before. Within the updated structure, assistance funds are being channeled toward families demonstrating verifiable economic hardship, encompassing stagnant earnings, reliance on government programs, or exposure to rising living costs. This encompasses individuals connected to federal assistance systems. This encompasses senior citizens. This encompasses workers in lower and middle earning brackets. And yes, this encompasses numerous individuals viewing this content currently. But here's where ambiguity emerges. The restructured plan utilizes pre-existing information, not fresh submissions. This means departments like Treasury and Social Security Administration are accessing documentation already in their systems: earnings records, program participation, tax submissions, and qualification background. Administrators involved in development indicate this was intentional to accelerate implementation. According to them, we don't want citizens completing paperwork while expenses go unpaid. Now, pay close attention to this next section because while this accelerates matters for certain people, it generates visibility issues for others. If your records are outdated, if your earnings shifted recently, if your documentation doesn't mirror your present circumstances, that's where individuals might encounter surprises. This is why the assistance plan restructuring carries such importance. It's not simply about the monetary amounts under consideration. It's about how qualification gets established. Another substantial modification involves disbursement scheduling. Rather than simultaneous nationwide distribution, the restructured plan employs staged release periods. Administrators aware of the schedule indicate payments would deploy in organized phases, beginning with the most economically vulnerable populations, then broadening as resources permit. That's a dramatic departure from previous stimulus initiatives, and it clarifies why certain individuals may observe deposits sooner while others receive instructions to wait. Currently, speculation online is already spreading. Certain claims suggest everyone will receive funds within days. Others assert the program is completely canceled. Both are incorrect. The truth lies between extremes. The assistance plan remains operational, but it's more streamlined, more concentrated, and more regulated than previously. One senior Treasury consultant allegedly stated, "This isn't about publicity, it's about longevity." And that reveals everything. Administrators desire a plan capable of adapting if economic circumstances deteriorate and contracting if inflation surges again. So, where does that position you presently? It means vigilance matters because the next stage of this plan doesn't hinge on social media information. It hinges on how your circumstances align with the restructured standards. And that leads us to the most crucial component: who receives payment, what amounts, and on what timeline. Now, this is the section everyone focuses on. So listen carefully because who receives payment under this restructured assistance plan depends on several very particular indicators, and overlooking even one might alter your result. Let's examine this clearly without confusion. First, if you currently collect Social Security payments, retirement, SSDI, or SSI, you are definitely being tracked. According to administrators informed about the restructured framework, recipients collecting under $48,000 annually in total income are prioritized in the initial payment phase. This includes millions of retirees surviving on fixed monthly deposits. It includes disability claimants whose payments haven't matched inflation, and it includes SSI claimants who already exist at the minimum income levels. For this population, the assistance sum under discussion ranges between $600 and $1,200 based on income level and family size. Now, before getting too optimistic, scheduling matters. These payments would not materialize simultaneously for Social Security claimants. Deposits would follow the identical mechanism you currently receive payments: direct deposit or direct express, and would probably coordinate with your current payment calendar. This means certain individuals might observe assistance sooner while others may wait an additional cycle. Following group: lower and middle earning workers. If you submitted taxes previously and documented an adjusted gross income beneath $75,000 for single filers or $150,000 for married filers, you are probably incorporated but not guaranteed. Here's the important distinction: this time qualification is being verified against earning stability. Administrators want to locate families whose income has stayed constant or decreased, not those experiencing brief increases. That's why certain individuals who qualified for previous stimulus initiatives may not qualify currently, and others who were excluded previously could now be incorporated. For this population, anticipated payments span from $500 to $1,000 with supplementary amounts for dependents. But here's the aspect most individuals overlook. If your income transformed substantially in the previous 6 months, employment termination, decreased hours, health-related absence, that may not yet appear in the information being utilized. That doesn't mean you're eliminated permanently. It means scheduling becomes vital. Now let's discuss families and dependents. Families with dependents below 18 are being assessed independently. Within the restructured plan, dependent-related assistance is organized as an addition, not a primary payment. This means it's appended to individual qualification, not distributed independently. For qualifying families, that might mean an extra $200 to $300 per dependent. However, qualification here is strictly connected to tax documentation status and custody records. If there are inconsistencies, divided custody, modified returns, or recent adjustments, payments might be postponed until confirmation is finished. And yes, that's aggravating, but it's also why administrators decelerated the deployment. Now, let's tackle a significant worry. What if you don't collect federal programs and don't fit into lower earning categories? This is where expectations require realism. Middle earning families above the primary limits are not prioritized in the opening stage. That doesn't mean they're forever eliminated. It means they are situated in subsequent evaluation stages dependent on available funds and economic circumstances. One internal communication described this strategy as adaptive assistance. Simply stated, the plan is engineered to grow or shrink, depending on how the economy functions across the coming months. Now, listen carefully to this section. No fresh submission procedure has been declared yet. Payments are anticipated to be distributed based on current documentation, Social Security information, IRS records, and program registration databases. That's positive news for velocity, but it also means precision matters. If your banking information is outdated, if your postal address changed, if your documentation status is wrong, those are the factors that trigger postponements. And postponements are what generate anxiety online. Which leads me to something important. There is no official verification of precise payment dates yet. Anyone asserting specific deposit days currently is speculating. What we do understand is that administrators are targeting early stage distributions once the concluding evaluation is finished, with staged payments continuing afterward. So, if you're anticipating immediate funds, recalibrate. This plan is about accuracy, not velocity alone. And here's the comfort. Assistance plans like this don't typically conclude with one phase. They develop. As information refreshes, as economic circumstances transform, and as demands increase, modifications follow. And that leads us to the concluding element. What happens subsequently? What indicators to monitor, and how to stay prepared instead of anxious? Let's conclude effectively. Throughout the upcoming several weeks, departments participating in this restructured assistance plan will be monitoring the identical things you are: inflation statistics, employment information, consumer activity, and most critically, public demands. According to administrators familiar with the schedule, the next significant moment arrives when Treasury finalizes its data coordination with the Social Security Administration and the IRS. That evaluation establishes how extensively this plan can broaden or how narrowly it needs to remain concentrated. If inflation stays high and family strain persists, supplementary payment phases become more probable. If circumstances stabilize, the plan may suspend before broadening further. That's the actuality of how assistance functions now. But here's the comforting element. This restructured plan was engineered to adapt, not eliminate individuals. If you don't qualify in the opening stage, that does not mean you're excluded permanently. It means your circumstances may be evaluated in a subsequent phase as information updates. This is also why administrators are being measured with declarations. They don't want to guarantee dates they can't honor. They don't want to duplicate errors from previous stimulus initiatives. And they don't want citizens making financial choices based on speculation. So, what should you do currently? First, stay informed, not panicked. Monitor for official communications from the Treasury Department, the Social Security Administration, and IRS announcements. Disregard screenshots. Disregard unverified posts. Trust confirmed information. Second, ensure your information is precise. Your banking details, your postal address, your tax documentation status. Minor errors trigger major postponements. And third, be patient with the operation. Assistance doesn't always materialize rapidly, but when it does, it's intended to stabilize, not complicate. Now, I want you to understand this clearly. This assistance update is not an indication that help is vanishing. It's an indication that policymakers are attempting to provide aid more responsibly in a manner that endures. And while the infrastructure isn't flawless, the objective here is to assist those who require it most without generating more disorder. So if you're feeling unsure, take a moment. You're doing the correct thing by staying informed. You're paying attention, and that already positions you ahead of most individuals. If you want to stay updated as the situation progresses, make sure you're subscribed. Activate notifications because when the next update emerges, you'll want to receive it clearly without the confusion. Until then, stay calm, stay prepared, and remember this. Assistance doesn't always arrive with prominent headlines. Sometimes it arrives quietly, precisely when you require it most. Stay informed.